Okay, welcome everybody. I don't think everybody's on yet, but we're going to start because it's pretty much on the hour. So here we are, week one, and it's exciting because we've got lots of people signed up. So whether they come now or whether they get the recording, it's still sharing these amazing teachings. So it's such a wonderful opportunity for all of us. So just welcome to everybody and thank you for coming. So just to go through the topics for the week, I'm sure that all of you are quite used to using Zoom, hopefully. But if you could just make a note of your questions, or actually somebody said, can they put them in the chat? And I think that's a good idea. We can put them in the chat, and if they, at the end of the session, maybe we can answer them. And then for the session, we actually keep our videos off and our mics off because this actually seems to allow for a better connection. We don't get cut off and things. And but at the end, we can put on our videos and unmute, etc. And this week, since it's the beginning week, maybe at the end, after we've turned off the recording, people can introduce themselves and say where they're from. So we're going to go through the intention of the course and who are the Ascended Masters, because you probably all already know, but some people may not know. So we'll just go briefly through, who is an Ascended, or what is an Ascended Master, and how the teachings came in and the essence of the teachings. And just briefly discuss the two major dispensations and what actually happened to our beloved Earth. And Sanat Kumara, how he actually saved the Earth. And just briefly why we're in such a mess and the solutions available. So obviously, being a course, it's, the real understanding will come from reading. And I always say to people, the course just opens the door briefly, because really it's a lifelong study of these extraordinary and wonderful teachings from the Ascended Masters, because they're really giving us the choice and the opportunity to make our ascension at this lifetime and assist others as well, on the journey. So it's always good to start, and we do this on our Mondays and Thursdays. Let's just start now just by centering ourselves and just getting into that lovely peaceful state. So we're going to take some nice, slow, deep breaths. So you can just breathe in really slowly. You can hold your breath for the same length of time, and then just breathe out nice and slowly, and then hold your breath again. It's a wonderful breath, the rhythmic breath. So we'll just take some of those lovely breaths. We know the breath is one of the best and quickest ways of bringing peace and a feeling of just quiet in our bodies. So it's a really good thing to do. Often in the day when I'm feeling a little bit rushed or something, I sometimes just take a few deep breaths, and I find it really helpful. Anyway, now we're just going to just connect up with our mighty eye presence. Let's just first listen for our heartbeat. So feel that beautiful heartbeat. And we can place the consciousness of that into the center of our chest. That heartbeat is actually a pulse of light. It's coming down through our silver cord. It's a stream of light. It comes from our iron presence above us for the most part, but also anchored in our physical body. And it forms a flame, a beautiful threefold flame, which we're going to learn about during this course. But in the meantime, we're just going to see this heartbeat forming in the center of our chest, a beautiful golden sun. So we can visualize it just like a noonday sun, And we know how bright the noonday sun is. That's what we try and visualize right in the center of our chest, a beautiful sun of light. And there is our pulse of light coming down from our I Am Presence, making that sun brighter and brighter. And now we can see these rays. They leave our sun, just like the rays leave the sun in our sky. And they connect up with all the miniature suns, because in every cell of our body, there's a miniature sun. And they connect up with all these conscious and intelligent little inner workers that are our cells, that have within them that pure, pure light. So we just see these rays going forth and connecting up. And this causes our body, through our mind's eye, to become light, blazing light. Our physical body and our aura becomes this glorious light. You can make it white light with a golden radiance. Feel and sense the change in vibration in your physical body and also your aura, your finer bodies. Loves the light. And now we're just going to fill our feelings with a sense of love and gratitude. Just so many, many blessings we have on our earthly journey, often not remembered or thanked. So we're just going to now place our feelings on all the things that make us feel grateful, just for our loved ones and our families, our friends, grateful for our homes, just grateful for all our supply, grateful for the beauty and bounty of nature, and just grateful to all the great and beloved ascended hosts, the great ascended masters, the great angelic host, and all the beloved elemental kingdom. Just feel love and gratitude, and just the greatest love and gratitude to our own individualized God presence, our I Am presence, for giving us lifetime after lifetime to make things right and come into the light, which is what we're going to do this lifetime. We just see this wonderful feeling of love and gratitude changing the color of our bodies into a beautiful deep pink with a golden radiance, because that is the color of love and gratitude. It literally changes the light into that color as we feel those wonderful feelings. And we're just going to send them out to the world now. Those wonderful feelings of love and gratitude. And there are many of us from all over the world, so we're going to connect up our heart centers. We're going to form this beautiful lattice of this pink and golden light, which is filled with a feeling of love and gratitude. And that's truly a feeling from our I Am presence, because it's a pure divine feeling. We can just see our earth now completely enfolded in this beautiful pink and golden blanket of love and gratitude. Love and gratitude for life and opportunities. So we just thank you. And let's start. Sorry there. And now we're just going to read an opening invocation from beloved Lord Kuthumi. And I'm going to ask Roxy Ann if she would read it for us.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Beloved presence of God, I am. It is thy life and intelligence that enables me to read and comprehend and absorb that which is required of me. For life, I am so grateful. Beloved Master Kuthumi, I ask for your feeling and your capacity to use this instruction for God's glory and mankind's comfort. We thank you. And now, great I am presence, take me within thyself. There instruct me and cause me to retain the full memory of these inner instructions. Thank you. From beloved Saint Germain.
Thank you, beloved Roxanne. All right. So I'm not going to ask the questions because I can't expect you all to answer, but just who the Ascended Masters are. So the Ascended Masters are beloved beings who have walked the earth just as we are right now. But they, through their own effort, through their own understanding of the laws that govern our lives, they became master over basically energy and vibration. So they mastered their mental and emotional bodies. They kept in harmony. They understood the universal laws that govern our lives, and they balanced their use of life. And through the use of the light rays, they transmuted all misuse of life. So these are the exact same tools and methods and teachings that they are bringing to us now, because it's really something that we all have to do at some stage, is reach our ascension. So they're giving us exactly the same methods and tools that they use to reach their ascension. And they were taught by those ascended before they were ascended. So it's, it's just like that. It's like the older brothers and sisters coming forth and assisting. So we're truly blessed. Once we get to know and start working with the Ascended Masters and understanding the great I Am presence within us, it is just the most extraordinary and wonderful thing. So we're truly blessed. And so how did the books and how did the teachings actually come in? This is also very important to understand, because they didn't come in through human channels. They came in through visible light and sound rays. So they started first and foremost with the first dispensation, which was in the 1930s. And it was Saint Germain's great, as he says, great privilege to bring these wonderful teachings in. And that was the I Am activity. And so onto the dining room table in the Chicago flat where the Mr. and Mrs. Ballard, Guy and Edna Ballard, lived, and their son, came this light ray. Literally, they could all see it in the room, and they could all hear Saint Germain speaking through it. And that was basically how they communicated. The Ascended Masters used this light and sound ray. The great divine director, who is a great cosmic being, he would also project golden letters of light in front of Guy Ballard, and he would read them. And then there were people like highly advanced, beloved souls like Brother Bill, who could sit at the back of an auditorium, and he would, with his eyes shut, and he'd get the same letters of light coming through. So there's no mistakes. They couldn't have mistakes in these teachings. They had to bring them in a way where there were no mistakes, not through a human like that, through, any channelings. Not to say that some of the channelings are not absolutely accurate, they are, but there's a lot that aren't. So, so the keys, the books are truly the key. They really are the key. It's reading and rereading. As beloved Lady Nada says, if you've read the books 50 times, read them 50 times again. Because every time we read these sacred words, and they are truly sacred words. I remember when I first got the books and I opened them and I started reading them, I would see the light coming right off the page. Then I knew that I was onto something which wasn't human. And so these books are just extraordinary, and they're very important because we're told that they are truly the teachings for the next 2,000 years. So we'll understand that. So we'll understand more of this as we go along through the workshop. So the aim of the workshop is to basically open the door to the knowledge given to us by the Ascended Masters in the books. And so, as I said just now, they are the teachings for the next 2,000 years. And we'll understand a little bit more about the dispensations over the 2,000 years a little bit later on. And they will, if we really study them and apply them, we can free ourselves from the endless cycle of birth and rebirth and achieve our ascension. And we can help others and the planet at this critical time. But it's truly, it's a lifelong study and application until we ascend. Because it's through this knowledge, and it's actually the feeling that we get, because it's the feeling that is really the sort of the key to the whole thing, of the great I Am presence within us. We know that if we say something and there's no feeling, nothing really manifests. But if we say something and it's done with feeling, it brings it into manifestation. So that's what they're trying to also bring to us. So we're going to understand about our I Am presence, which is truly our source of life, which has been forgotten for millennia. And it's critically important now, because nobody can really, we have to free ourselves. Nobody can free us but ourselves. It's the same thing as like sort of saying you're going to eat for another, they'd still be hungry. So that we have to do the work. To think somebody else can save us it's just not true. They can help us, they can teach us, but we have to do the work ourselves. So we learn about the immutable universal laws. In other words, they don't change. They are immutable, and they apply to all life on all planets, and they govern our lives. And it's the breaking of these laws which is the cause of all our misery. So when we understand that whatever we sow, we reap, it's mathematically accurate. So there's no blaming of others. All right. So then we also understand the use of the light rays, which free us from these miserable, these lives of discord, and how we may redeem our karma and balance our use of life. So it's such a boon. It's such a great, great gift, these teachings, truly. And then we can achieve our ascension and be of greater service, because really that's what it's all about. It's actually serving, and to know that we are the creators. So everyone in the world eventually has to get this knowledge. And, you can also get it when in between embodiments from the temples, we go and actually learn that as well. All right. So what is everybody really seeking? We're seeking happiness. We're seeking peace and love and harmony, health, abundance, fulfillment. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. It's just the greatest. I'm sure all of us agree. When are we most happy is when we're actually serving and people are benefiting, and our ultimate freedom. But we've been at it for millennia, millions of years now. We've had lots of lifetimes, hundreds, some of us thousands of lifetimes. And unfortunately, the trend has been that most don't want to actually do the work to free themselves. But there is work to be done, and we've got the tools, we've got the means with which to do this now. But we have to do it. I mean, the proof of this is that we're still on the planet, and that things are not in such great shape, even though actually I think behind the scenes there's some really magnificent things happening. So, but we've got work to do, all of us. So we've been looking in the wrong place, basically, for our happiness. We've been looking outside of ourselves, and we want someone else to save us or to make us happy. But truly, the only real, true, and permanent happiness comes from within. Because the outside world changes, and we all know that. It's like shifting sands. And we don't believe that we have this great power within us. So that's really what the Ascended Masters are very keen for us to feel and understand, that we have this great I Am presence within us. So that's the same I Am presence that Jesus used, for instance, because he prefaced all his statements with I am. And Moses was told about this in the burning bush, when he went to the burning bush and said, who must I say is giving me this information? And the reply was, I am that I am. That is my sacred name. And go and tell the Israelites, I am sent you. So I am is a name. It's just happens to be in the English language because it's the most prevalent. It was designed, a long time ago by the Ascended Masters. So, but it is actually a name. So when we say it, we create. So now we have this information to achieve the state. And it's our natural state of being, happiness. We all crave it. We all crave peace and love and harmony, but we don't know how to actually maintain it often. And now we've got these extraordinary tools through the use of the calling to our presence and the light to transmute any cause of maybe anxiety or sadness or whatever it is. It literally is like divine alchemy. So it's important to remember that this information from the Ascended Masters regarding our I Am Presence is not affiliated in any way to any particular religion, culture, nationality, organization, ideology, teaching, or philosophy. So you can't, so often people say, oh, she does the I Am teachings and that one does the Reiki and that one does this, what have you. It's not. We can't even do Reiki without our I Am presence. We can't do any of the things. We can't go out and garden. Everything comes from our I Am presence. All the wonderful good ideas, the energy, the intelligence, the love. It's actually straight from our I Am presence. It's the energy we're using. The only time we go wrong is when we take that energy and we misuse it, that light. That's what's happened. So that's where we're going to come now and we're going to learn this control. So these teachings are pure and untouched from the Ascended Masters. We don't mix them with any other teachings because they've got all we need and they are purely divine. And they just relate to the simple truths of who we are, which is we are representatives of our I Am presence in this lower realm, really coming down originally to expand the kingdom of, of perfection, happiness, joy, glory, all the wonderful things that we used to have in the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden, Edon, meaning divine wisdom, when we lived according to divine wisdom. And we're going to be going back to that. And also to achieve our next evolutionary step, the ascension. Every single one of us has to do that, as we said. And how are we going to achieve this? We got all these tools now, but it does require us to apply the teachings to get the results. It's like anything in life. So it's a wonderful thing. So the essence of the Ascended Master teachings is to get everyone to understand that we are gods and goddesses, creators in embryo. So we're the aspect of the I Am presence here on earth. And we create our individual worlds with every thought, feeling, word, and action, because that is the law of cause and effect. And it's mathematically accurate. It's not haphazard at all. Things don't happen by chance. So if we are sending out worry, fear, sadness, anger, or whatever the things that we don't want to happen in our life, unfortunately, that is exactly what draws them in. So that's when we start to change our whole way of living. We just completely turn the page. It takes time, I believe. Some people might do it really quickly. You might be really adept and far advanced from another life and come in and find this really easy. But we need to bring in, we want to be happy. So we're constantly seeking that feeling of sending out to the world that happiness, that peace, that love, because also that's what we get back. So the light, the life by which we live, comes from our I Am presence. It's that stream of light coming down through the silver cord, through the top of our head, anchoring in our heart. Representatives in this lower realm. So the misuse of light or life is the breaking of the laws. And as we said, it's the cause of all our distress. And there is no other. It's never about the other, as the great divine director has said to us. And he's a great cosmic being who was the teacher of SAINT GERMAIN, Jesus, Lord Cthulhu, Lord Maitreya, and many of the Ascended Masters, and many of us students down here now. He's a wonderful, wonderful cosmic being. And he says, it's never about the other. It's always about us. So, and we can get karma coming from lifetimes ago, because we've created it. So sometimes, we might have somebody that's really difficult to get along with in our lives, or we might have lost a lot of money or whatever it is, but somewhere, sometime, somehow we have created that situation. And whatever, we might have been might have done something to that life stream that we're now, spending time with. And so we're learning, we've been given the opportunity to learn to live in harmony with that person and redeem and set free any bad feelings that we might have still. So we've got this, we just got a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us all. So we're entering now into the new and permanent golden age. And this is a major, major cycle. And they say to us that never before has the earth gone through this particular cycle that we're beginning to experience now. We've been through many golden ages. But this one is a major, major cosmic cycle. It's the major in-breath, the cosmic in-breath that we are experiencing, where all planets, in all stars, in all galaxies, the suns, the central suns, everything is rising in vibration. So we'll go more into this over the weeks, but just know now that we are entering a major, major shift and into a very high vibration that we're all going to be living in shortly. A wonderful time of this golden age. And it's going to be a permanent golden age. We were told never again will the earth fall back into what she's had to experience. So it's extremely important for us now to understand and to help our planet. And once we get these teachings, I can tell you now, and I know from the people that I've joined, some of us, we've done the workshops before, some here, that we have wonderful opportunities through issuing decrees, sending out light rays, all behind the scenes. Nobody knows anything about it, but it's just, it's transcendent, information that we've got now, and this use of the light. So it has been decreed that the earth must be at peace and free for the golden age to come forth. And that's pretty obvious, isn't it? We can't manifest a golden age while there's discord, while there's wars, while there's selfishness, while there's greed, all these lower vibrational frequencies. Beloved Alpha came from our central sun. Alpha and Omega are our Father, Mother, God. He came from the central sun in the 1980s and issued the decree that this earth is to come to peace, into peace. So the decree has been issued and it must come forth, because that is law. Once a decree is issued in the name of God, it comes about. So then we have every 2,000 years, we have dispensations. So it's a cycle, it's a smaller cycle, but every 2,000 years. And it relates to the rays. Because there's 7 major rays in all, which we'll also be going through over the course of the sessions we're going to be doing together. But we're now we had 2,000 years ago, we had the Christian dispensation where Jesus actually came, and it was his responsibility to bring to the people of the earth the understanding of the Christ consciousness. And also to understand that through the use of the light, we can resurrect and transfigure a mutilated body. That's what he did when he came out the tomb. It was through the use of the resurrection and the transfiguration flames, and also to the use of the light to do our ascension. So it was very much like that, and also just very much bring in a state of peace, because as we know, he was known as the Prince of Peace. And now would we come into the state of beloved SAINT GERMAIN, and it's the 7th ray. Jesus was in on the 6th ray. Moses came in on the 5th ray, which was the green ray, and that was very much an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And that was the green ray is about truth. But now we're in the 7th ray, and this is all about mercy and forgiveness. So it is such a gift, because without mercy and forgiveness and the divine alchemy of the violet flame, which we're going to learn a lot about once we further on in the course, we just wouldn't make it. There's just no ways. There's been too much discord on this planet for so long. But this violet flame is extremely powerful, and it is truly divine alchemy. It can literally change wrong conditions into perfect conditions. So that's what we're going to be learning about. So the next 2,000 years, we are predominantly in the seventh ray, and the color of that ray is violet, purple, and it is the ray of mercy, forgiveness, transmutation, and freedom. It's also the ray of rhythm and invocation, but also that we'll go further more into. So in the 1930s, it started with the I Am activity, and then again in the 1950s, the Bridge to Freedom came in, because something had to be done quickly. And so they designed these teachings in a simple, easy to understand format that children can understand. They're not hidden in parables anymore, and everything's really very simple to understand and to apply. And it was very, very important. The occult law, which is the law which hides things, which had to be in place, because the light acts regardless of who's sending it out. So that's why basically all through the time of Jesus and the preceding time to the 1930s, there was an occult law which hid a lot of this knowledge, that only those true seekers, they would used to go to the old temples in Mongolia and Tibet and China and things and other places, looking for these teachings. And only look, seek and ye shall find, but they had to seek really hard. Well, we don't have to seek now. We have it all very easily available in our hands. We just have to read it, understand it, and apply it. So in 1930, mighty victory came. He was from Venus, great, great cosmic being who's only ever known victory, came in and said, you've got to lift the occult law. It's imperative. So that occult law was lifted, which allowed all this information to come through. Nothing is hidden anymore. And it's really a last chance given to humanity. And so that's not a scare tactic. It's just the way it is. It's because we're in this cosmic in-breath. So everybody needs to now to start. That's why, to turn to the light, to understand the presence within us, and to use that great gift of life in a correct way now, not to misuse it with wrong thoughts and feelings. So it's a very, very important time as we go into these this new age, this very high frequency. And we can see, there's such changes coming on our planet. Even with this the COVID story, it just brought, even though it was an unpleasant thing and, still hanging around a bit, it brought a lot of change. It brought a lot of self-examination. And it also, I do believe, and the Ascended Masters have sort of alluded to this, that it's the time of the sorting of the wheat and the chaff, the sheep and the goats, wherever you want to say it. But it's really a time of showing our true colors. Are we ready? Are we going to be ready for this major shift into this golden age? Who do we serve? Are we serving the light or not? So none of us would be here, learning this if we weren't keen to serve the light. But it's good to help others too. All right, so I like this one. This actually came up on a Telegram group that I'm in. It's just so apt. So I like to play this because this really is essential now to understand that every thought, feeling, word, and action affects the collective consciousness. So we really want to make sure that we are affecting the collective consciousness in the most positive way possible. So if we're going to keep on going back into the past and all the bad things about whatever it is that we're concerned about out there, all these different things that COVID brought, etc., where is that feeling and action going? Who is this actually serving? A lot of the time, it's actually serving a very, very subtle, sinister force. So we need to keep our minds and attentions on positive things. So I'm going to And Saint Germain's famous statement, where your attention is, there you are, and what you focus on, you bring or force into your world. And that is truly the key that's just the key. It's so important to think about where, what are we thinking about and what are we doing? So I'm going to play this for you, for this guy. He's just marvelous. I love it. It's spot on, this.
Truth hidden in plain sight. This might be the most important video that you ever watch. And I know that it's a big claim, but it's super important. Because understanding this concept could determine the fate of the collective of humanity. What I'm about to show you is a couple clips from the movie Tomorrowland, and then explain to you the deeper meaning.
Because tachyons travel faster than light. Once we harness them...
You can see backwards in time.
Not just backwards.
You're kidding.
No. I'm afraid the world is ending. It is certain, it is unavoidable, and it is coming.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Actually, it has happened. You just haven't accepted it.
Well, I don't accept it.
You see that?
Okay, first off, spoiler alert. And this is actually super deep. But one of the biggest things to take away from this is that the future is actually just a potential. It is never fully set until it happens. And that the collective consciousness belief of what will happen literally controls what's going to happen. You see, more people believed in the doomsday scenario, and then the probability as shown was 100%. Therefore, when we looked at the future, that's what they saw. And then the girl didn't believe that it was going to happen. And that caused the future potential to flicker into a higher timeline, which is literally exactly how it works in real life. That our combined belief in what will happen literally changes the future. And the dark side knows this. What if this is what's playing out in real life right now? That everywhere you look, things are going wrong. It's all going downhill. We're all doomed. Oh no. This is exactly what they want you to think. Because that literally controls the future. This is why it's so important that if you are just focusing on what's going wrong in the world, to realize that you might actually just be feeding that. Because as Albert Einstein told us, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just transferred. So your attention is actually energy, and that energy feeds whatever you focus on. And then all of that energy combined from our attention and our focus is called collective energy, or our collective level of consciousness. So you have to start taking your power back. And this starts by first, one thing, it's always one thing, awareness. Where is your energy currently going? Because our future is literally determined by you and everyone else combined, and all that you can do is focus on changing yourself. And then when you change yourself, then you share that change with others. And when enough people do this, we all literally change. And then we manifest a different future for humanity. We cannot transcend darkness with more darkness. Only the light can do that.
So there we have. It's absolutely brilliant. I love that. It's
Hidden.
all right. So now we're going to listen to this is from Beloved Saint Germain, the Universal Laws. It's about 8 minutes, but it's really good to listen to. All right. Thanks.
The eternal law of life is what you think and feel you bring into form. Where your thought is, there you are. For you are your consciousness, and what you meditate upon, you become. When one allows his mind to dwell upon thoughts of hate, condemnation, lust, envy, jealousy, criticism, fear, doubt, or suspicion, and allows these feelings of irritation to generate within him, he will certainly have discord, failure, and disaster in his mind, body, and world. As long as he persists in allowing his attention to be held by such thoughts, whether they be about nations, persons, places, conditions, or things, He is absorbing those activities into the substance of his mind, his body, and his affairs. In fact, he is compelling, forcing them into his experience. All these discordant activities reach the individual and his world through his thought and feeling. Feeling often flashes before one is aware of the thought in the outer consciousness, which he might use to control it. And this kind of experience should teach him how great is the energy within his many creations, which has accumulated through habit. The feeling activity of life is the most unguarded point of human consciousness. It is the accumulative energy by which thoughts are propelled into the atomic substance, and thus thoughts become things. I tell you, the need of guarding the feeling cannot be emphasized too strongly, for control of the emotions plays the most important part of anything in life in maintaining balance in the mind, health in the body, success and accomplishment in the affairs and world of the personal self of every individual. Thoughts can never become things until they are clothed with feeling. The Holy Ghost, or Holy Spirit, is the feeling side of life. God, the activity of divine love, or the mother expression of deity. This is why the sin against the Holy Ghost is referred to as that which brings such great distress, because any discord in the feeling breaks the law of love, which is the law of balance, harmony, and perfection. The greatest crime in the universe against the law of love is mankind's almost ceaseless sending forth of every kind of irritable and destructive feeling. One day the race will come to realize and recognize that the sinister destructive forces manifesting on this earth and in its atmosphere, generated, mark you, by human thought and feeling, have only entered the affairs of individuals or nations through lack of control in the emotions in everyone's daily personal experience. Even destructive thoughts cannot express themselves as action, events, or become physical things, except by passing through the world of feeling. For it is in this phase of manifestation that the activity of coalescing the physical atom upon thought forms takes place. As the noise from a sudden explosion shocks the nervous system of one who hears it, setting up a trembling sensation in the cellular structure of the body, in exactly the same way do the flares of irritated feeling shock, disturb, and disarrange the finer substance and the atomic structure of the mind, body, and world of the person who sends them out, consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or unintentionally. Discordant feeling is the producer of conditions we call disintegration, old age, lack of memory, and every other failure in the world of human experience. The effect upon the body structure is the same as that produced upon a building if the mortar holding the bricks together were to receive repeated shocks, and each day those were to be increased. This continued shock would shake apart the particles composing the mortar, the building would collapse into a chaotic mass, and the form be no more. That is what mankind is constantly doing to the atomic structure of the human body. To give expression to the discordant thoughts and feelings in one's self is the course of least resistance and the habitual activity of the undeveloped, undisciplined, and willful individual who refuses to understand the law of his own being, and to bring the personal self, which is but his instrument of expression, into obedience to that law. He who cannot or will not control his thoughts and feelings is in a bad way, for every door of his consciousness is wide open to the disintegrating activities thrown off by the minds and emotions of other personalities. It takes neither strength, wisdom, nor training to give way to unkind destructive impulses, and the full-grown human beings who do this are but children in their development of self-control. It is a blight upon the life of mankind that so little control of the emotions is taught humanity from the cradle to the grave. Attention to this particular point is the greatest need in the Western world today. It is easy to give way to discordant thoughts, feelings, and activities, because the mass of mankind are submerged, as it were, by environment and association entirely created by themselves. The individual, through his control of the outer consciousness, must make the effort to rise out of this condition by his own free will, in order to transcend these limitations permanently. And no one can hope to rid his life and world of misery, discord, and destruction until he leashes his own thought and feeling. In this way, he refuses to let the life flowing through his mind and body become qualified by the discord resulting from every little disturbing occurrence in the world about him. At first, such discipline does require determined, continuous effort, for the thoughts and feelings of 95% of humanity run as uncontrolled and free as a little tramp dog. However, no matter how much effort it takes to bring these two activities under control, it is worth any amount of time, energy, and effort, and no real, permanent dominion of one's life and world can take place without it. It will be my pleasure and privilege to teach you the use of these higher laws. Their application and use will enable you to release true wisdom and bring about all perfection.
Okay, sorry. So there we are, just the priceless words of Saint Germain, and just so really such important things for us to understand and to work on. So this is like the golden key. This is what Saint Germain says. He says, the power of the word I am. Let me caution and assure you with great emphasis that no matter who or what you are, what place you may be what place you may be in from the growth standpoint, when you make application with the words I am, you positively cannot fail to accomplish that to which you apply them, if you will hold fast with unwavering determination. And that's really the key. So we've got this great I am presence, and we can see from the chart on the left, and we do go through the chart over the weeks, you'll see. And that I am presence, that great God presence, has the power to bring and do whatever needs to be done in this lower realm for us, but we need to make the calls. All right, I'm just going to read this. This is just from Saint Germain, also part of the I Am Discourses. It was actually from his very first discourse, but it's just so brilliant. The student endeavoring to understand and apply these mighty yet simple laws must stand guard more strictly over his thought and expression, in word or otherwise. For every time you say, I am not, I cannot, I have not, you are, whether knowingly or unknowingly, throttling that great God presence within you. When you make a declaration using the words, I am not, you set in motion mighty, limitless energy that continues to act unless it is recalled and the imperfection consumed and transmuted. This shows you the enormous power you have to qualify this mighty energy of God. And I tell you, beloved students, dynamite is less dangerous, for that would but liberate you from the body, while these thoughts, sent forth ignorantly and ungoverned, bind you upon the wheel of re-embodiment indefinitely. So thus you can see how important it is for you to know what you are doing when you thoughtlessly use wrong expressions, because you are using the most divine principle and activity in the universe, I am. Is my sound all right? Because I've just had a notice saying that my internet's a bit unstable. But anyway, I hope it's all right. Is it okay, Jay?
Yes, doing well. A little bit, it was dragging slightly, but actually we're in good stead.
Okay, good. All right, so here we have it. So we need to be absolutely very, very mindful that we don't allow ourselves to go into negative, fearful, critical, blaming, thoughts and feelings, because we give our power away to the outside world. So we always move in that state of positivity, seeing all challenges as lessons that we have created, because somewhere along the line, sometime, somehow, the exact things that are coming to us are things that we need to learn to examine in our lives and master. So it's always an opportunity. So we see every situation as a positive one. And so we're going to listen now to this video here. It's a wonderful one. You are constantly radiating. You are constantly radiating by the beloved Mahachohan, an excerpt from Electrons and the Elemental Kingdom, compiled by Werner Schroeder from the Bridge to Freedom material. Radiation is a marvelous subject for contemplation. Every manifest expression in the entire universe, from the smallest molecule to the great central sun itself, is a radiating center of one kind of vibration or another. When you stand near a heat radiator in the winter, you feel the heat, although your physical sight as a rule does not see the substance that makes up the heat waves. You have felt the light and warmth from the physical sun in summer, and have enjoyed the fragrance of flowers, as well as the pleasing aromas that radiate from the food being prepared in the kitchen. All this is an activity of radiation. All people radiate constantly, and the substance that is emitted from their various bodies affects all other people everywhere on the planet. We are endeavoring now to bring every man, woman, and child to a place where the radiation from their bodies is harmonious, restful, and peaceful, so that their life streams, when they are in contact with each other, are uplifted, balanced, and enriched. If you will remember that what passes from your body in thought, spoken word, or feeling affects all parts of life on the planet, men, women, children, animals, plants, and vegetables, either for good or evil, you will, I know, endeavor to express and expand only that radiation which is as comforting and which is as healing as the light from the sun. The planet, as you know, is passing through a very dangerous and chaotic period, and if we could depend on your outer selves to hold a certain harmony, we could use you without limit in delivering this beautiful earth from destructive activities and expressions. From the heart of the presence of each one of you, beloved ones, comes a stream of electronic light, which finds anchorage within your physical heart, and forms there a pulsation of flame, which has been referred to as the threefold flame of God. From that flame within your heart, there passes through all your bodies the electronic energy by which you live. That energy is the God power that governs the universe, and that animates all living manifest form. Within that energy, which flows from the heart of your presence, is the power of life, eternal, and the only healing force in the universe. There passes through your bodies every second enough of this electronic force from God's heart to heal and completely free you and all mankind from every manifestation and expression of distress. You must, beloved children, like the rest of mankind, learn the power that is within your own life. When that power is allowed to unfold, it will manifest through you in the fulfillment of every heart's desire, and you will find yourself being a perfect expression of the Godhead. Whoops. All right. So, yeah, wonderful words from the great Mahatrahan. So only fragments of the real understanding of the I Am Presence have been given to the outer world until now. Well, since the 1930s. The Ascended Master Saint Germain says, it is the most important understanding mankind can ever have, and there's no freedom nor perfection for the individual except through his conscious application. He considers it of such paramount importance that he dedicated more than 33 discourses in which he explains what happens in the outer life of the individual when he says, I am. He also says, nothing will bless the individual to so great a degree as the conscious understanding of this creative word. So we're obviously going to go more into that over the weeks and really it's a feeling. So we haven't got, I wasn't quite sure. It's always a bit difficult to know exactly how long the hour is going to take. But we're going to do more of Sanat Kumara next week. But just to give you a brief understanding of what actually happened to our beloved planet. So millions of years ago, everything was going well in the time of the Garden of Eden. As we know, we were living according to divine wisdom then. And people were doing their ascension in the allotted, which was normally 14,000 years. And so we've now taken millions of years. So it's been a very, very slow process. But what happened was millions of years ago, there were souls that were lagging behind in evolution on their own planet. And they were looking for some other planet in which to continue and continue their evolution and achieve their ascension. And that was when the hierarchy of the earth actually said that they would accept some of these beings. They were called laggards because they were lagging behind in evolution. They were not maintaining the frequency, just to put it into a simple sort of term, of their planet. So they could no longer embody on it. They could no longer take life on it. So that was when it was a merciful act, but it's been, my goodness, it's been really a long time. And it was never meant to be like that, because what they were hoping, the head of the hierarchy of the planet and the great beings at that time, the ascended masters at that time, were hoping that the laggard souls would take on the ways of the pure earth people, which were called the root races. They're the ones that just were meant to be here on Earth. And the planet was originally designed for 3.5 billion. And we have evolving on this life, on this Earth now, we're told by the Ascended Masters, approximately 10 billion life streams. We've got about 7.5 or whatever in embodiment right now. That's the most that's ever been on this Earth, because everybody is being given a last chance to embody and to show their true colors, to actually show who they serve. But if we work that out, it means that our planet has 6.5 billion life streams from other planets. And I remember reading in The Bridge to Freedom, where El Moro said to us that we literally, these weren't his exact words, but it was kind of referred to saying that we became like the dumping ground. And he said boatload after boatload, that's how he put it, of these so-called laggard souls came to the earth. And our beloved Archangel Michael and his legions of these mighty, powerful angels, these blue-ray angels, created what was known as a ring pass knot around the planet. And this ring pass knot did not allow any of the negative energy to actually leave the Earth's atmosphere and go and contaminate the rest of the universe. But we have got loads. That's why it's such a big experiment here, and so important. And that's also why we're getting great help from legions of light from other stars and galaxies at the moment coming to help, because a lot of them, these souls that are lagging behind, and we've all taken it. None of us have been perfect, so we fell into those same ways. And some of us were guardian spirits, and we got enmeshed in this whole discordant way of living. So it's really been a long journey for our beloved planet, who has hosted us with so much grace and so much love over these millions of years. And anyway, the time has come now where there's basically like a line drawn in the sand, and it's been said now that by cosmic law, no longer will the people of earth be allowed to use that pure divine energy which comes through our iron presence and comes, down through the suns and through our own iron presence for misuse. We can no longer, misuse life. So that's why these teachings are so important, because the laws need to be learned again. These universal laws of basically the law of harmony is absolutely key. And that's where we have to aim for. So we get tested. We can go through all sorts of initiations as we're told. Because how do we know if we're master of something unless we're tested? So sometimes we might have weaknesses in certain areas. Things might trigger us and might not trigger other people. So we get tested in those areas that trigger us. So that's why we just know that everything that comes to us is actually just a test. It's just an initiation. So yeah, we became known as the dark star, the shadowless light of God, and was not, we weren't emitting this light. We should have been absolutely shadowless, which is what all the other stars are. It's shining in the heavens. If we look up in the sky, those stars shine continually. They don't have night like we do half of the time in darkness, no, because they don't have the solidification that we have on this planet. But we'll go more into that when we learn about the elemental kingdom. So the earth was not emitting light, and we turned away from our light, because we are the creators. We are the creators of the light, because we are the gods and goddesses on the planet. So that's why it's so important for us to actually to turn back to the ways of light and start emitting this light. So we became sense conscious and lost God consciousness. And because as we receive, so we should give, having added more. So that was when the great beloved Sanat Kumara, who's known as the Ancient of Days in the Old Testament, came from Venus. And we're going to just, I'm going to explain more about that anyway, a little bit later, but we're just about to finish, I know, because we're coming to the end of our time. But anyway, so written across the face of our earth is these feelings, these human feelings, because the Ascended Masters differentiate between human and divine. So the good feelings are the divine feelings, and the human feelings are the ones that are imperfect. So selfishness, greed, fear, war, hate, sadness, self-pity, poverty, sickness, anger, blame, profiting at the expense of another is also against spiritual law. So that is why we're going to have this wonderful gift where the lifting of the sweat of the brow and the curse of Cain basically is actually going to be coming forth for humanity. It's a great, great gift. And that is where we're going to have universal income coming through. But we can discuss a little bit more of that next time. So that's the cause of all the misery on our planet. And so when we send that out, that's what we add to on the mass consciousness, and that's what we receive back in our lives. So that's what we have to nip in the bud, and we start transmuting it with the light. So there's no one single step so vitally important as getting before mankind the knowledge of their I am, their source of life, and its transcendent power, which can be brought into the conscious use of the individual. And that's what we're going to start to learn over these over the weeks here. So we're not going to have time tonight to learn about Sanat Kumara, but do just know that the great being Sanat Kumara came from Venus about 4.5 million years ago and actually saved this planet, because the planet was going to be dissolved, because all planets have to emit light, because whatever we receive, we give back, having added more. That's the law. And he held this planet in its orbital position, emitting the light with his great, great aura of light. He's the great God of love of this entire universe, Sanat Kumara. Not many people know about him. So that's a really important thing we start to learn about is Sanat Kumara. And so we're going to learn more about that next week. And yeah, I was hoping we would get through more today, but we haven't been able to. We're not going to do that one. All right, so we're going to close now, and then after we've finished closing, after we've said the closing invocation, for those that choose to, you can open your mics and you can say where you're from and what have you. But I'll stop the recording then of the. I can see my internet's unstable. Anyway, so I was just thinking, Trish, are you there? Would you like to? Can you read the closing invocation for us?
Yes, and with pleasure. Beloved, I am present, and beloved Master Katumi, nourish the seeds planted in my consciousness so that the ideas entrusted to me become manifest flowers of perfect expression in my world and the world of all my fellow men. Beloved presence of God, I am, pour the light of thy great glory upon my consciousness and nourish the seeds planted by the masters. We thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Trish. So next week we will start with going back, talking about Sanat Kumara, and then we'll listen to a wonderful video of his words. It's really heart-stirring. And let's just take a little bit of time now to just thank our mighty Iron Presence for gathering us all together, and for the wonderful teachings from these great and beloved Ascended Masters that are so keen for us to free ourselves. Just a few moments of quiet gratitude. Okay, thanks everybody. And so here it is, you can feel free to open your mics if you want. And I know some people couldn't come because we didn't have, they were actually, I'm just going to